History in the making.
Hey, good evening and welcome to the Monday night experience, the indoor football experience with the coach. I'm the coach, and the kid's going to join us here in just a second. That's RJ. And like I said, you can join us here on the AFNN.net network every Monday, 8:15 Central Standard Time. RJ, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing well, Coach. How about you?
Doing real good, really looking forward to talking about some indoor football tonight. A lot going on. A great weekend of football, particularly in the IFL, as there was some great competition to finish up the final week before they go into the playoffs, and we're going to get into all that in just a little bit. And the National Arena League has things going as they're starting to really hit their stride, and the CIF playoff picture is clear as well. So a lot to talk about. And as for our listeners, we'll pretty much stick with what we always do. We'll talk about the IFL a little bit, and then we'll get into the National Arena League and then the CIF. And who knows what we'll talk about after that. But your thoughts on last weekend in the world of indoor football?
I think it was a good week overall. There were a nice amount of competitive games around the board. The IFL, the game of the week in the IFL going into the week was Quad Cities versus the Tucson Sugar Skulls, and it lived up to the hype. The Tucson ended up winning 55-50, and a one-score game to determine who's getting in the playoffs is about as good as you can ask for a league to perform.
Yeah, definitely coming down the stretch, and a lot of games to take a look at, in the final weekend in the IFL. And like you said, that game was pretty much win and get in, lose, you go home, and that's what it came down to.
Definitely. It stinks when you're that team that has to go home, but it's like, if you didn't perform clutch, it doesn't happen.
Hey, and like we said, it's great for one of those expansion teams to get in the playoffs, and the Sugar Skulls have been they've been competitive all year long, and they've played some great football games. So kudos to them and their organization. And I'll tell you what, I've watched them a little bit, but I really did enjoy the game on Saturday night. And I feel like they're a team that they're going to have a tough task as they travel to Sioux Falls, but what a great opportunity for that football team.
Definitely. Playoffs are always a time to show how great of a team you are. And if you can make it, then, because sometimes teams have easier schedules than other teams, and, fans will nitpick that like there's no tomorrow. So to silence some of your critics, you got to, do more than maybe you think you have to.
No question, and then the other game, really this is going to be a great game as the Danger do slide into the playoffs. I don't want to say sneak in. They secured the fifth spot, but they find a way to get in, and they're going to travel to Green Bay. Green Bay 9-5. On a 3-game win streak. The Danger, again, roller coaster season for them at 7-7 on a 2-game win streak. That's looks like that's going to be a great first round playoff football game.
Oh, definitely, and I very much look forward to that. I also am looking forward to that Sioux Falls game as well. I have high hopes for that.
Yeah, it was kind of like I just touched on. It's nice to see one of the expansion teams slide into the end of the season tournament, so to speak, and have an opportunity to advance and play for the United Bowl. So Sioux Falls, 11-3 regular season. They have been defeated and can be defeated. So it's the playoffs. Everybody's going to start 0-0, and it should be a great first round of football games in the IFL. Again, Nebraska had a tough task in hand in a must-win situation the last couple of weeks. They've basically had to win, And kudos to Coach Cornelius Brown, and the Danger for getting it done.
Absolutely. I mean, we can talk about, making stuff happen, but to actually go out on the field and execute is a whole, different monster.
Yeah, they wind down the season with a big victory over the Strike Force, and that kind of seemed to get them back on track. They have talent, they have veteran talent, they have a quality coaching staff. So again, they've played Iowa tough all year, and to be honest with you, if you recall, they should really have posted 2 victories against the Barnstormers this year, as they lost that earlier game in the season. I don't remember the score, but I know it came down to the last couple seconds.
Yeah, those are the games that really hurt, to lose, because, like you said, it comes down to the last couple seconds, and if you can't finish them, why do you think you're gonna be able to finish in the playoffs?
Yeah, and the game I was referring to was the March 23rd game, Iowa Barnstormers at Danger. Iowa slid out of town with a 58-55 victory, and just a great football game, and really seemed to launch the Barnstormers as they put together, a bunch of wins down the stretch, and sent the Danger spiraling a little bit. But again, they were able to bounce back, and they get to play in the end of the season tournament. So next Friday, Nebraska Danger will travel to the Green Bay Blizzard, and that'll be a 7:05 Central Standard kickoff. Ought to be a real exciting game. And then Tucson Sugar Skulls travel to Sioux Falls to take on the Sioux Falls Storm in a 3:05 p.m. Central Standard Time kickoff. So should be interesting, as the 2 top teams who receive a bye, who we've yet to talk about so far, the Iowa Barnstormers and the Arizona Rattlers, get the ever important bye week to heal up, rest up, and get ready for their semifinal football game.
Definitely. I mean, Arizona's taken a loss that not a ton of people have talked about yet. Outside of this show, and I do want to reiterate that for our fans, the Rattlers will not be playing their playoff games at Talking Stick Resort Arena, otherwise known as the Snake Pit, due to arena renovations. So they'll be playing at the home of the Arizona Coyotes in Glendale. So, the environment's going to be a little bit different. And if you're visiting Arizona, you're going to take any edge you can get.
Yeah, no question. And it's just unfortunate the timing, you work all year to get home field advantage, and just doesn't work in your favor. So it is what it is. And it's not the first time, I'm sure, that the organization or an organization has faced this type of adversity. So just unfortunate that it occurs during the playoffs, but they knew far enough in advance, and these kind of things happen in this industry, and I think that they knew far enough in advance, and are able to have a plan B, so to speak. Maybe even had to go plan B and C, who knows? But that also helps the players, as nothing's been sprung on the players, so to speak. Nothing worse than that.
Oh, yeah, there is nothing worse than, something being sprung on players, because then everyone gets into a tizzy, and sometimes rightfully so, like, hey, why didn't you tell me about this? Transparency from the top, from the commissioner down to the guys doing ticket operation, just handing out tickets and flyers, is important, because you don't want to be handing out the wrong promo material. Let's say the commissioner didn't tell me the game's not being played at Talking Stick Resort Arena. I'm working for the Rattlers, and I'm saying, everyone come to Talking Stick Resort Arena. They show up and, it's under renovation. What the heck's going on?
Well, that's something that we're talking about is right now is league communication, media communication, things that put a league in a position like the IFL is, and it comes down to good communication. And I always say in these leagues, and I've never been in the military myself, but I heard this from several of my military friends. Just like the military, you need to have a plan A, B, and C. And I think that's a perfect motto for the indoor football industry. You always have to have a plan A, B, and C, and they knew about this and they were able to make the necessary arrangements and adjustments. I'm sure the players have known for a long, long time again, because they're the most important ones in all of this. So this won't be something that they can make any excuses about. They'll be ready to rock and roll when Saturday, June 29th comes along.
Yeah, and this is unprecedented for leagues having to make last-second judgments due to venues changing things up, because you have the San Jose SaberCats have to do it one off season. The Arena Bowl was played when the Soul were supposed to be hosting at the PPL Center in Lehigh Valley, because that venue wasn't available. And after seeing what went down in the AAL, with the whole Bojangles Coliseum debacle, with the Charlotte Checkers and the controversial first round bye week, the energy we're able to get out of it, it's easy to see stuff like that, happen and get sprung on the players, and I'm glad to see that isn't happening here.
Yeah, definitely. Again, it's always about the players, and I like the communication and how things have taken place in this situation. I mean, even people like me and you have known about this in a long time, so we have to imagine that the organization has known about it for quite some time. So in case you're just joining us, I'm the coach, and that's the kid over on the other side. We're talking a little indoor football and the indoor football experience. We're getting ready to wrap up things here in just a minute as you get our IFL playoff picks for week one. You can listen to us live on afnn.net. Make sure you jump over there. A lot of great alternative football news on the website as well, and it's growing every day. So again, if you're just joining us, you can listen to the Indoor Football Experience live right now at afnn.net. So we appreciate all of our listening worldwide. RJ, like you just heard me say, who do you like in the first round of the IFL playoffs?
First round of the IFL playoffs. All right. Well, I'm going to go with the Nebraska Danger and the Tucson Sugar Skulls.
Okay. Great picks, and I like when someone's taking a pick and they're willing to go out on the limb. So two good picks. I'm going to go with the Nebraska Danger winning on the road, and I'm going to go with the veteran Sioux Falls Storm winning at home, as the Tucson Sugar Skulls put up a great fight, but fall short, and see Sioux Falls winning. So make sure that you lock in those picks from the coach and the kid, and that'll give us something to talk about next week, as making picks are always fun. So again, like we said, awaiting are the Iowa Barnstormers and the Arizona Rattlers. So should be interesting first round of the IFL playoffs. So we'll see how things go. Moving on to the National Arena League, and like I said, they started a little later, and things are really starting pick up, so to speak, RJ. And like I told you a couple weeks ago, I've been watching a little bit more National Arena League action, and you know what? I like what I'm seeing.
Yeah, as a guy who's been following the league basically since its inception, I've really had a lot of fun just looking at it and seeing it evolve. The first year was a rough year. You had a travel team with the Dayton Wolfpack, because the arena they're going to get the Nutter Center in Ohio. Something happened between them at the last second. They lost all their games, so the Corpus Christi Rage. The league's had a lot of growing process. They've really gotten to the quality over quantity mentality that has helped the AFL revive itself, and it's worked well in the NAL.
Yeah, and it's almost a very similar model if you think about things as the IFL as well. So we're seeing some similar changes throughout the industry over the years as we talk, as you just mentioned, quality over quantity, and also like we've talked about in previous shows, how roster stability seems to be a little bit more in favor now, and that also has to affect how much money you're spending during the course of the season when you can stabilize your roster and you don't have so much transition of bringing guys in and out, because that can be expensive.
Oh yeah, speaking of roster changes, now there was a deep threat that New York got recently by name of LJ Castillo. Now, Coach, what was I saying 2 weeks ago about the New York receiving core?
That you really liked him?
Well, there was that, and they needed another deep threat, and that's what you get in LJ Castillo. I called it. I called it.
Yeah, the thing is, with the National Arena League being more of having more passing in their games, and we talked a little bit off air about rules. We can get into what we were talking about a little bit in another week or two. But, we were just talking about the rules and how the rules will really dictate the league. And once the season gets going, it'll dictate roster signings as well. So, again, good call there by you. And, the streets started off real hot. Things caught up to them. And now they're continuing to keep their roster solid so they can continue to compete at a high level from the middle of the season, which is roughly about now through the stretch.
Yeah, if I am the New York streets, there are a couple areas where I do really want to improve. Area number one, the offensive line. David Legree is a great quarterback. He's been getting almost nothing but praise across the forums. When Legree has time, he can really throw a ball really accurately. The problem is, their center retired a couple weeks ago in the middle of the season, and all of a sudden people are like, well, shoot, what do we do now? And they kind of been shuffling the offensive line around. And in response, David Legree has been getting destroyed. Legree can run lower his shoulder, which is great, but if you want a guy to be successful, he needs time to throw. And I know, getting chemistry between a quarterback and center takes a lot of time. I'm not knocking the new center coming into New York, It's just something that's going to take a bit of time. Also, the secondary, could use a bit of work because I've been at all the New York Streets games in Westchester, and I've seen enough plays to know that the Streets get burned on the deep ball. And on a 50-yard field, a deep ball will a lot of time result in a touchdown. So if you can get that down and work on the offensive line a bit more, you could definitely see the Streets making a late push. Because right now they're in the bottom of the league standings with the Orlando Predators. And they're in the they're at the number 5 spot. There are 6 spots in the National Arena League. Top 4 make the playoffs, so they're on the cusp of making it. And if they work the small things out, they can definitely make a big push.
Yeah, the toughest position to acquire probably late in the season, O-line. You mentioned the retirement of Nate Ryan from New York, and, the center is such an important position, particularly in the National Arena League and the Arena League, again, with passing being emphasis and pass blocking being most important. So, you're asking a new person to come in there and I'll call checks and protections late in the season with a veteran quarterback. Very, very tough task at hand. Can be a difficult transition. So, again, hopefully they have a plan, and it's always next man up. So, it's been interesting. Joe Morrow retired too for them. So, really kind of opened up the door. Who you were just mentioning Castillo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, opened up the door for that signing. So just interesting, how, like I said, they got off to a fast start. Things kind of caught up with them a little bit, but tremendous amount of talent on that roster, as you know, and so some subtle changes can, like I said, keep them in the thick of things, and hopefully they'll be a contending team down the stretch. It's always nice to see the new teams, and we haven't talked about it much in this league, but it's always nice to see a new team get in there and compete and push forward and hopefully secure a playoff spot.
Definitely. And, I got to say, you know, Kenny McIntyre's been doing a great job down in Orlando, as is Court Galloway up in New York. The NAL has found some really great owners so far, and I'm happy to see what I'm seeing when I go to the games. A lot of people are like, there's a forum, there's a page on Arena Fan talking about the New York streets attendance, and sometimes jokes get made, and I'm the guy who's been to all the games, so I'm kind of voice of reason in that group. And I'm like, hey guys, yeah, it's not great right now, but it's getting better each week. What more do you want to ask from them? It's not like they started off strong and then dropped off like the original XFL did.
Yeah, in good competitive games, win, lose, or draw for a new organization is always good too. So they've been in most of their games, and heck, they're playing some tough opponents. So what more can you ask for? So I think the fan base has appeared very solid for a first-year team, and I'm not as close to that particular organization as yourself, but like I said, I've been watching more National Arena League football over the last month or so, and the New York Streets are a good football team and a great fit for this league.
Absolutely. It's a fun environment if you're in the, New York metropolitan area. Make the trip down here, just hop on, Metro North. There's a stop, right by the county center. And, it's a easy access, it's fun, it's affordable. I just recommend it. Also, if you want the team to stay, you gotta show up. I've said it before. I'll say it again. If you want your team to stay in your area, show up or give some kind of support. Because if you don't have the money, I can't blame you for not paying out. But say something on social media about, hey guys, there's a great team in town or out, and just promote the team if you can't afford anything yourself.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. You can't say that enough, and I don't know about yourself, but I've been in a situation where we've had a team, haven't had a team. There's been teams close by, there haven't been teams close by, and there was at one point, there was a long stretch where there was always a team here and a lot of teams close by, and it was almost like you took it for granted. So I can't echo that point that you just made enough. If you do like arena football or indoor football and you're a fan, make sure that you get out and you support your area, your local team, and as many teams as you can that are close by. So it's all about the players at the end of the day, and the more fan support that they can get and the industry can get, the better. It's about being a stepping stone in a lot of instances, and the good thing is all these leagues have somebody or multiple people that have taken a significant step in their football career.
Yeah, they really have. I'm going to be expecting guys, your Edgar Allan Poe's, of the National Arena League, to potentially be getting calls up to the XFL soon. So, you're seeing high quality players, you're going to see moving up the ranks. So, especially if you have a local athlete, follow their journey, because these journeys are really interesting. What leagues they stop at, and you also get to talk to them much easier because they are, to a degree, local and they're relatable.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things in these guys getting additional opportunities is the coaches, guys who have invested time coaching in the Arena Football League and some of your higher level indoor football leagues. Their knowledge is being a lot more well respected now and in the last several seasons at the highest levels, including the NFL and the CFL. So that is opening opportunities for players as well. And we talk about so many times kind of a path, a player and a coach. They're always on paths together, players and coaches. And again, with these coaches getting a little bit more respect on the highest levels of football, you're seeing them get opportunities. And when coaches get opportunities, the first thing that they want to bring in is players with talent, number one, and players with talent that they might have an existing relationship already with is a bonus, not only for the coach, but the organization, because the coach already has a heads up and a couple steps ahead of player personnel on knowing character issues or, the actual character of players before you bring them in.
Yeah, that's important to know, because what you don't want to do is, make a quote-unquote character pick and find out that the character that you thought you were getting isn't the one that you got. I mean, a perfect example of this was when the Pittsburgh Steelers took Le'Veon Bell as a positive character pick. Now, how that happened, I don't know. I'm a Steelers fan. I should know this stuff, but how it happened, I don't know. Regardless, it's important to know these things so you avoid situations where you have a locker room where it's players versus coach.
Yeah, no doubt, and it's a lot different when the player's making millions than it is on this level. So that's why it happens on the level that you're talking about in the NFL. Man, if the guy can run the football at a high level or do something at a high level better than just about any other person in the world, he can be tolerated in the locker room, because not all locker rooms are everybody friends or get along like a lot of people think is the world of sports, so to speak. I've been in locker rooms before where there was clearly guys, they not only didn't get along, they didn't like each other, their families didn't like each other, their friends didn't like each other, the guys they hung around with didn't like each other, but when it came to getting the job done on the field, they were true professionals. They came together and they balled out. So there's always a lot going on in the room, and you always got to protect the room, as I say, and be real careful what type of guy you're putting in there.
Yeah, definitely. It's a slippery slope. Because if the coach loses grip for 1 second, cough cough, Mike Tomlin, things can turn bad very quickly.
And and in the world of indoor, they turn quickly, very fast. Mike Tomlin, guys at that level, they get a little bit of additional rope, let me say,
Oh, absolutely.
to try and get the room back in order. But I'll tell you what, man, when you lose an indoor football team or you lose an arena team, it's no getting it back. It's gone.
Yeah, I've never been a coach myself, but I can only imagine what goes on sometimes.
Yeah, then a lot of times the problem on the indoor level is you don't have a ultimate leader of an organization. Sometimes so many people have a voice or a say, you know what I mean? At the NFL level, everybody generally knows in an organization who the boss is or who the chief is or who the main guy not to mess with is, and when you see that guy, you want to be on your best behavior, so to speak, That's why guys like, I really appreciate guys like a guy like a Jimmy Johnson back in the day, just everybody knew, you know what, you want to take a little snooze in a meeting, you know what, you're gone. You want to show up 5 minutes late to a meeting or a workout or a training session, you're gone. So just a guy to fear, so to speak, sometimes can really keep professionals and millionaires in check.
Absolutely. I mean, also, anybody who has that much gel in their hair intimidates me.
But coaches like that, and every organization knows who that guy is. It's kind of funny. Tom Coughlin is an old school guy in Jacksonville, and he's kind of that guy, and that's a young football team. So that football team with all the young guys, who are making money, got a lot of swag to their personality. and whatnot. And I'm not hating on it. I enjoy it, but you got to have the right person in there to control all that, and like he's really not for much or any of that, so he just kind of continued running a hard line operation like he's known for. So it's kind of like Giant South down there in Jacksonville right now.
Absolutely. Tom Coughlin's a great coach. We gave him a loss, flag for his time in New York, but he's done a phenomenal job. But back to the indoor game, I just want to say about Coughlin because I live in the Northeast and I heard a lot of Giants fans last year. I'll just put it that way.
A team in the National Arena League I've kind of been following closely. And again, a lot more about the league. I've been a fan of the league. I haven't followed as closely. And like I said, it all started off with their initial development as the Arena Developmental League before, Jeff Boschee and some others got involved to make it the National Arena League. But a team who's really impressed me, who I've been following closely, and I like what they do and how they do things, is the Jacksonville Sharks. They have a quality football team. I like the product that they put on the field, and I really like the kind of the coaching staff and the front office leadership as well. It seems like one of the more well-rounded organizations in the National Arena League.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a very well-rounded team. The team started off in the AFL, and the AFL has very high standards. Jacksonville took those standards with them when they went to the NAL, a team that I think is kind of interesting. And Coach, I think you interacted with the team a bit during the time of the AIF, was the Columbus Lions, because they are the team with the smallest market in the National Arena League in Columbus, Georgia. And they've been around since 2007. They joined the World Indoor Football League, which lasted one season, and they've moved around from league to league from there. And it's impressive to see a team in that size market do well because there's a lot to do in Georgia. I've never been myself, but I know there's a lot of tourist attractions, and there are other cities nearby. So it's a lot.
Well, first of all, it starts with having a nice venue to play at, and the Columbus Civic Center is that. So the team over the years has had a good relationship here of late with the Civic Center, which helps. And like I said, I have a lot of respect for those guys. They made the tough decision to move to play a higher level of football, and that's what they've been able to do. And coming from the AAIF, that was a big step. The Steelhawks attempted to do it, and things didn't work out as well for them, although their leadership and ownership decided to kind of go on a different career path, which didn't allow as much time for football, which I get. But yeah, a lot of respect for the Lions, and they've struggled here with this transition to the National Arena League, but they stuck by their guns. I like how they do things, and overall, I think they have a quality program, and it's a good league and a good fit for their team.
Definitely. Also has a precedent of showing that the smaller markets can work in a high quality league in the East Coast because, with IFL, a lot of the times the smaller markets that work have the only game in town. There are other things to do in Georgia, like I said earlier. So, that they've been working for so long. It's been over a decade now. Jeez.
Yeah, it's good, and a lot of minor league baseball in that area. And, I'm a big minor league baseball fan, and a lot of people aren't fans of it. But as well as me, there's some towns that are smaller market towns that have minor league teams, and they look forward to supporting those teams, and they get out and do that. There's some areas in the South in that region that have had a minor league team, for 40, 50 years. So for the Lions to get in there and compete with the other spring activities that are going on, kudos to them.
Definitely. To run some scores by you from the National Arena League this past week, the Jacksonville Sharks took down the defending champion Carolina Cobras 55-29. The Columbus Lions defeated the New York Straits 68-55. And the Massachusetts Pirates took down the Orlando Predators 45-31.
Yeah, another great week of football action and the Arena League and the National Arena League, and no one running away with anything. It seems like everybody's kind of taking their hand and having a couple week run of playing some really good football. So I like the parity in this league. And I think it's going to be fun down the stretch with about 6 weeks left for all the teams in the league, with the National Arena League, as we mentioned before, just now passing the halfway point in their season. So I actually like their late start. So that's another reason why I've been following them a lot. The other leagues are going to wrap up here soon, and they'll still have a number of weeks of action.
Yeah, I think that's something that NAL did that was smart to make it that late in the season during playoff time. It is the only league left. Therefore, if you have people who are generally interested, in the sport, I'm like, dang, I don't want it to end. I guess I'll turn to this one.
Yeah, why not? It's sometimes it's this or nothing, and hey, we're all we're all football fans, so we're gonna go for it, and just love the fact that they're on YouTube as well. Makes it real easy for the fans. It makes it real easy for everybody, and love being able to go back and either watch it a second time or watch the archived version of it after it's happened in this business. And I've never minded, even before I was in this business, and knowing who's won. If there was an opportunity to watch a game and there was nothing else to do, I always wanted to take that opportunity to watch the game. So works out just fine for me. So I've really been enjoying, like I've mentioned, watching and following this league. Very high level of football for the arena and indoor scene. And I also think the level of quarterbacking in this league is very high as well, which means that you have additional good talent on the O-line and at the skilled positions as well. So, again, I see the talent in this league is very high. A lot of people aren't quite aware of how many quality high-level athletes there are in the National Arena League, and some of these guys have been around for 3, 4, 5 years or more, and to be quite frank with you, are some of the best in the business.
Definitely. I've talked about this certain core before, but I'm going to bring it up again because they're that dominant. The Charles McCollum, the Jordan Jolly, Coach Billy backcourt, that's, in my mind, the most dangerous core in the National Arena League. They were very dangerous back in their IFL days. They were dangerous wherever they went, and they remained dangerous. I can't picture a Coach Billy back team without Charles McCollum, really.
Yeah, I got to agree with you there. And, they also have Jolly as well, who has with also, again, McCollum and Jolly together. I'm just taking a look at their roster. Michael Green was there as well in Wichita Falls. So, key players at different levels of the team, which always helps a coach come in and put in what he really wants to do, whether it's offense, defense, or special teams. So the Cobras just have a really, really nice roster. It's an experienced roster. They have guys that have even been in the National Arena League, 2 or 3 years, that have come and joined the Carolina Cobras since they entered as well. So, they have a nice roster. It's veteran laden, and it has a lot of talent on it. So they're going to be a team again to look out for down the stretch. And like I've mentioned several times, I really like the parity in this league. It's a fun league, and we touched on it earlier. Quality over quantity, and I think that's what the industry has learned over the last few years, and I think the National Arena League is a prime example of that.
Yeah, and I think, it will continue to get better every year. But I want to jump over to the CIF now because they also had a very, big week this past week. It's playoff push time with CIF, so you're waiting to see who's gonna make it, who's not gonna make it. Um, a, the game of the week was the Sioux City Bandits against the Oklahoma Flying Aces. Oklahoma has had a rough first year over in Enid, but they lost to the Bandits 62-61. I mean, if you want to talk about competitive football, that's where you start.
Yeah, it's nice to see, the Aces have put together some decent games down the stretch. So it's nice to see that for them. We talked about it before. You don't want to see any team coming into these leagues and just get their brains beat in and not be able to compete. And we saw a situation with the River Kings kind of really falling off in the IFL and just not really being competitive down the stretch. So kudos to the Flying Aces for sticking it out, finish the season like we always talk about, and staying competitive. They've put up a decent amount of points in the last 3 or 4 weeks. That I can remember. I remember putting up 50, I believe it was against maybe Omaha in a real close loss.
Yeah, it is. And this upcoming week is a very big one because Omaha and Salina have the 1 and 2 seed in the North. However, Sioux City is only one game back. So, if Omaha drops and Sioux City wins, or Salina drops and Sioux City wins, or, there's a whole combination of things that can happen. It's the indoor equivalent to your Week 17 matches where, a team's on the fighting for that number 6 seed, and, who's going to get it? That's always the big question.
Yeah, so a team that we don't really talk that much about, and it's probably the team I know the least amount about, but they've really been playing well. Is the Amarillo Venom, and it's again with a decent amount of parity in the CIF. It's been kind of weird since they had a team leave, and the schedule's kind of got that little hiccup in it, but. Otherwise, again, you've mentioned Sioux City Bandits over the time we've been playing. The Omaha Beef, a long-standing team in the indoor football industry. We just touched on the Aces playing a little better down the stretch. Amarillo, Salina, with a veteran coach, a real good team. Duke City, bouncing back, putting together another great season as well. So. Again, kudos to the CIF, and it makes these leagues a lot more fun to talk about when at least each game has a couple competitive opponents, and nobody's going to walk away with an easy victory.
Yeah, and you talked about Cedar Rapids this year, it was, I think, hard for Cedar Rapids to get a new ownership group because the Titans last year were on the cusp of really becoming something much stronger than they ever were before. That they sold the team, the rebranding happened, and allowing 2 shutouts in an indoor football season is impressive for the reasons that you don't want to be talking about. But here we are. It happened. For some context, the Rattlers got a shutout win over them. For the first time in team history, the Rattlers were formed in 1992. So, that just shows the competitive nature of the force. So when a team is starting to fall down a bit, this far, you really got to look internally and say, all right, how can we help this team out? How can we save it from getting any different and, any worse? And, and I'm not trying to knock Cedar Rapids too hard here. Something that Cedar Rapids has better than most teams in the IFL and the industry in general is a social media presence, especially on Twitter. Whoever runs that Twitter, I hope they are getting a lot of respect in the workplace
Mm-hmm.
I was doing some pick 'em stuff with the Rin Football Talk earlier this year. Week 1 was the only one to pick 'em, and they had say, "Oh, hi RJ," and have the angel face emoji, which I found hilarious. And the next week, I'm the only one not picking them. They said, "RJ, we know he disappointed you last week, but this is heartbreaking."
Yeah, there's I have been following them more and more, and they're one of the teams again. They either have a great person handling that or a great staff. Who knows? That's a great thing about social media. You know what? You can keep your team in the forefront just by having some good people who don't play football. And I've seen some funny stuff on there and some funny interactions as well. And that's a funny one that you just shared. So, again, that team in the CIF is the Wichita Force.
Yeah, you've said it before, but I'll say it again. Um, we had higher hopes for Wichita this year, but it didn't go the way you wanted it to, and you hope they kind of come back next year.
Yeah, hopefully they're able to bounce back. I was so surprised that they came out of camp looking good, and I knew several players that I was close with that were there and made the team, and I was following closely and thought high hopes for them, and just did not go their way this year. So. Again, they've been around a while. Hopefully, they'll be back. Hopefully, the Southern division will be able to find another team in that. Most likely, a best fit would be a team in Texas for that Southern division in the CIF. But who knows? The Northern
Yeah,
division with Salina, Omaha, Sioux City, and Wichita looks good. So go ahead. What were you going to say?
well, gosh, there's Dickies Arena is being finished in the Fort Worth area, I believe. And this was a few months ago, so I don't know how this is aged. But I heard people saying, oh, there's going to be a new Fort Worth City team, I forget where I heard this. It was somewhere on Facebook, so I forget what source it was. So I'm not saying this is positive, 100% going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
However, I wouldn't be stunned.
Yeah, so just have to see. It seems to be where they go when they need a fit for that division or those teams in that region. So we'll monitor things here on the indoor football experience and see where things go. I'm the coach, that's the kid, and we're talking indoor football. Got a great show going today. Just really having an opportunity as the IFL and the CIF wind down and get into playoff mode. Really having a good chance to break down those two leagues and again, like you've heard us mention, the National Arena League right in the middle of their season cranking up, so able to talk about them too. In case you're just joining us, you can listen live to the Indoor Football Experience on afnn.net on the Alternative Football Network. Great website. Make sure you get there and check it out. A lot of great content, and it's a very fluid website. Things are changing and going on all the time, so get over there and check it out. And also, as we get ready to wrap up here shortly, you'll have the Coaches Player of the Week, and you'll have RJ, the Kids Player of the Week. So start to think about that, RJ. I think I've got mine locked down pretty good here, and we'll be wrapping up with the Player of the Week like we always do. So this week, very interesting. That was the first week as far as the Player of the Week. I thought the competition in all the leagues was so good that I took a close look at the IFL, the National Arena League, and the CIF to come up with my candidate.
Yeah, I got mine, but before we get to that, I do want to go over a couple of champions that were crowned this past week in
Yeah.
a couple of the more regional leagues. In the A League, the Gulf Coast Fire defeated the Manatee Neptunes for the inaugural A League championship. So congrats to the guys down in Gulf Coast. I'm interested to see what the A League does next year. And then you had the International Arena Football League Championship because, that was a league that I think honestly got not enough media coverage. Just because of the concept of international arena football being in the U.S. and Mexico, the league had some bumps. The Rio Grande Valley Dorados got bumped out from the State Farm Arena. But the season finished strong, and Mexico ended up being the first foreign champions in indoor and arena ball history.
Well, congratulations to them. And you talk about the league getting more coverage. The problem there is too many cancellations, too many move games, too many weird things going on with teams and their venues. It seems like the most stability in that league is coming out of Mexico, and kudos and congratulations to them. And that's why they're the champions.
Yep, and if you have look into these regional leagues because it's still great quality football. And it's interesting to see what's different between the regional stuff and the I'm not gonna say national quite yet, but the maybe East Mississippi, West Mississippi type things.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see what pockets of the country have what styles of play.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm really liking the regional leagues. I like the following the A League, and again, congratulations to Gulf Coast. Really, what I have always wanted to and am trying to do to this day is to work in a regional league or with a team that's regionally based and develop players the right way and run the organization the right way, and then be able to provide a stepping stone for those players from that regional league to the IFL, National Arena League, or CIF if they obviously fit my player profile and they have the desire to move up. So that's really what I would like to see the regional leagues be able to provide. The A-League could be a great provider for the National Arena League and the Arena League just there on the East Coast. So I would love to see the regional league model kind of stick around. I think it's great that teams can provide cities, indoor professional minor league football. And I also think it's great if it's run and done the right way. It provides a quality opportunity for the player, like I said, if they fit the right player profile to take a step to the next level.
Definitely. And you want to see things taken to the next level because you want to see these guys, do better. Because, they all, and a lot of these guys just don't get the exposure they need. And, regional leagues will help guys get exposure to the larger leagues. The larger leagues will get them to leagues such as the XFL and the CFL. And then, from there, a select few will make it to the NFL. And, again, that is a very small number, but it's better to have that small number go through the journey than them all give up at the beginning.
Yes, and I think the regional leagues are learning right now that, no, you're not going to go big. You're not going to join the IFL. I mean, there's always that possibility, but the probability is that that's not going to occur. And when it has been attempted, it generally does not work out. So, I think the regional model again. I like it. I know the Elite Indoor Football League has really been dabbling in the Midwest, particularly in the tri-state area here where I'm at in Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana. And again, that's a good region right there, good three-state, tri-state area to have a football league. So we'll see what they're able to come up with. And again, announcing another team with the as the Land of Lincoln joins the EIF, an ownership group in Springfield, Illinois, has come to an agreement to bring the Northern Nemesis to the Elite Indoor Football. And they go on to say, per their league release, that this adds to a rapidly growing Midwest region of the league and allows easier travel for teams. The Nemesis hope to add a more competitive schedule for all teams in the division and the EIF. So an addition there. So with one addition there, they also have a quick subtraction just on June 6th. The Ozark Mountain Express announced that they would play in Lebanon, Illinois, and I guess roughly 10 days later, 12 days later, today they informed the league that they had folded up shop and would not be playing. So there will not be a team in Lebanon, Missouri. So sad and unfortunate, but not the first time that we've seen team come and go quickly. That's pretty quick. But I guess excited about the addition of the Northern Nemesis who are going to play out of Springfield, Illinois. So with the Southland Power playing in Chicago, there's a couple of teams near me that I can check out, some of the regional leagues, even if it's just go watch games for athlete scouting and see who that next player is that might be able to be moved up or get involved in a more detailed role with the team. So again, I'm pushing for that regional model as it is trying to really make some headway here in the Midwest, and they have my full support.
Yeah, and they have mine as well. I love seeing these, smaller leagues, like we said, because it definitely has even more community vibe than the other leagues do, and they already have a pretty community vibe to them.
I got to tell you, you've influenced me quite a bit, and paying a little bit more attention, just for the simple fact that obviously that I'm jealous of the fact that you have access to teams and you have teams around you, and I don't really have much. So I've decided.
Hey! Before you get all on me about that, listen. Up until like the NAL started putting teams in the area with the AFL like 2 years ago,
Right.
we were in the middle of nowhere. So you had teams for a while, Coach. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we did, man. It's a sad, lonely feeling when you don't. So I have been jealous of you, but you have inspired me to get involved a little bit more. Number one. Number two, follow some of these regionally based leagues and, learn a little bit more about them. And like I said, I see they're trying to make some headway in the Midwest, and I'm all for it because I certainly would like to go into next season having a few more teams in my area that I can cover and or get involved with. So that's what's going on as far as the Midwest concerned and the elite indoor football and what they're really doing. So good luck to them, and we'll continue to monitor football on all levels and see where they go. So we're coming down the home stretch, RJ. So why don't we get into our player of the week, because our fans worldwide have been waiting to hear who me and you think really had a solid impact on their team last week. So who's your player of the week candidate?
It's Tommy Armstrong Jr. from the Nebraska Danger.
Ooh.
And although his stats were not stunning, what he didn't do is turn the ball over and get a +2 touchdowns. He had, and honestly, in a win-or-you're-in game, that's really what you need from a leader. So for that reason, coming in clutch, solid performance, getting his team the win, I gotta give it to Tommy Armstrong Jr.
Oh man, great selection. I had him up there as well, but I went with this gentleman who was able to give the Tucson Sugar Skulls an opportunity and a playoff berth with a 55-50 win over the Quad City Steamwheelers, leading his team to victory. I went with quarterback Matt Barrett of the Tucson Sugar Skulls. Again, like you said, RJ, stats don't blow you away, but very proficient and productive. 8 for 11 passing for 96 yards, 2 touchdowns. Did have one in there, but here's the key stat. Brent was able to run 13 times for 53 yards, a 4.1 yard average indoors, which is excellent, and 3 touchdowns. So he accounted for 5 touchdowns and Skulls to victory over the Quad City Steamwheelers. So that's my player of the week. So kudos to Mr. Armstrong and Mr. Brent for both leading their teams into the playoffs this week. And we'll be following both of those guys closely going into next week.
Yes, we will.
Real quick before we get out of here, like I said, we appreciate all the fans listening worldwide, checking in on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Really appreciate that. Appreciate everybody that's logged in on Skype as well, and our alternative football network at afnn.net. Like I said, RJ, another great show. Where can we find you on social media, and where can we follow you? Where can we follow you during the week? We know you're doing another of other things covering the National Arena League.
Yes, you can follow me on Facebook at RJ Ciancio. Ciancio spelled C-I-A-N as in Nancy, C-I-O. You can go to my Instagram, RJ_Ciancio, or follow my Twitter at CiancioRJ. And Coach, where can we find you?
Appreciate that. You can find me on Facebook at Real Easy Lin, Lin, first name Hart, Hart Jr. You can find me there on Facebook. You can also find me on Twitter at lowercase the Coach 28. You can also find me on Instagram, all lowercase as well, the _Coach 28. So again, love the interaction throughout the week with the fans and haggling back and forth about who's going to win or who's going to do this and that. So another great show, RJ. I look forward to getting back together and talking more indoor football with you next week.
Thank you, Coach.
You got it. That's RJ the Kid. I'm the coach, and for our awesome Harry Bob, we will be back with you next week, Monday, 8:15 Central Standard Time. So make sure you check it out. We appreciate everybody listening worldwide tonight. This is the Indoor Football Experience. Peace. We're out.